I'm really into texture. You know, texture is a huge thing to me. I use greens a lot in my dishes now. Kale, Swiss chard, mustard greens, things like that. And I don't par cook any of it. I use a flat top for most of my greens. I put them on the flat top, salt, pepper, butter, cover it with a pan. If you walk into one of my kitchens, if you go into a kitchen that I've been a consultant at, you'll always know I was in that kitchen, because there'll be at least 3 saute pans with the handle jerked up like this, bent up into a great big, you know, kind of handle shape, because I set it on top of the flat top, lift it up, squirt some water on it, and set it down, and it steams the food instantly like that. So cool, it works great. You know, you can put beef under it, you can put chicken under it, you can put anything under it. It'll instantly cook the food, you know, and it cooks it nice, keeps it moist and everything. And I did that in one of the restaurants. I came back the next day, and all the pans were straight. I did it 3 days in a row, and the 4th day I come in and I see the dishwasher over there going like this, trying to straighten my pans out. Made me crazy. I said, no, I want it like that. And he just looked at me. He didn't speak hardly any English. All they ever got out of me was, yes, chef. You know, and I told him, do this, do this, do this, do this. Yes, chef. And then 20 minutes later, he wouldn't do it. I had to go find somebody that spoke Cantonese before I realized, you know, that he didn't know what I was telling him to do. And then when she told him in Cantonese, he went, oh, okay. You know, and it was totally fine. So, you know, it was your language barrier, you know, sometimes. So, what we're going to do first is a porcini mushroom dust. Mushrooms in a spice blender. Normally I would run this through a chinois also to get all the little pieces out, because I literally want dust, you know. I've actually had a couple of line cooks throw my porcini mushroom dust out because they didn't want to do it, you know. And when you make something this size here, that's a lot of money, you know. Not to mention it took me a lot of time to make it, and they threw it out. It just made me crazy because they didn't want to do it, use it, you know. Again, that's where, you know, like I said, integrity and desire, you know, not just to be a cook to throw the food out and get it off your line and go home, you know, and go to the bar and party, but to actually put something out that's a piece of you. You know, to me, that's it. When the food goes out on the line or off the line, that's a piece of me walking out on the floor. You know, that's me. You know, I've had people come into the restaurants, you know, that sat down that didn't know I was a consultant at that particular restaurant, and then they went, wow, this looks like Chef Larry's food. You know, and then I'll walk through the door and they go, oh my gosh, it is your food. I knew that was it. So that to me is a huge compliment, you know, that someone actually recognized what my food looked like, you know, right straight off the bat. So we got the porcini mushroom dust already here. We're gonna use that as garnish later on, you know, for the dish. So we're gonna start the sauce for the ravioli. It's a raspberry merlot reduction. Okay, so we're getting the pan a little hot. Find my oil. Touch of oil in the pan. Some shallots and some garlic in the pan as well. A little bit of butter. Always stick oil in the pan just to begin with, because that will keep the butter from burning. You can, and it will actually work better, to strip all of the thyme leaves off, like I told you before you give to the cook, that you want to keep them out shut, you know, keep them busy. You know, for time's sake right here, what we'll do is we'll just toss in, you know, this. Because what we're actually going to do in the end is we're going to run it through the Vitamix, you know, to infuse everything into it. You know, that way the stuff gets like stuck in the sauce. You know, there's little micro pieces of shallot and garlic and thyme and everything in that sauce. No matter what, you know, what you run through the chinois, it's still going to be in there. So I take this and I caramelize the onions down, or the shallots down, and the garlic. You know, I don't want to burn it. I just want to caramelize it a little bit. So wine goes down. All right, that's basically it at the moment. This is just going to get set off to the side, you know, and reduced. Yes.
All right, so you said you're big on texture. You're not going to pass it through a chinois.
I am going to pass it through a chinois. I'm big on texture with my food, not with my sauces. I want my sauces, I call them virgin sauces in a sense because they don't have anything in it. You know, it's in it, but it's like this in it. It's not, you know, it's not there. Even like my Marsala wine sauce and such, I still run it through a chinois a lot of times because I've run this through a Vitamix or through, you know, through something to break up all of that flavor and put it in there. So it's in there, you know. It's just not a chunk of shallot, a chunk of garlic and everything.
Right, so it's more infused.
Right. Now, the mushrooms, I use 5 different types of mushrooms typically, you know, for it. I love oyster mushrooms, Whittier mushrooms, things like that, you know. And the guys in the back, I don't know if any of you were once back there cutting up my stuff, but one of the people back there was actually grating the cheese, and I said, no, it's got to be brunoise, and they went, what? It melts different. When you put it in the ravioli, it will actually melt differently by doing that. You know, pasta, that's always fun to make. Big bowl of, you know, butter, throw some, or not butter, flour, throw in your eggs and start, you know, getting your fingers and your fork dirty. We're not going to build a, I actually thought, I'm so glad, because I thought I had to build a pasta in front of all you guys. And, you know, it just was like, oh gosh, you're killing me. So anyway, I mean, I don't know if you can smell that. One of my problems is my parents, my dad had a heart attack when I was in 6th grade. He couldn't have salt, so I have a problem with salt. You know, I undersalt everything. So if I stick it over here for you to taste and you go, need salt, I'm going to listen to you because typically, you know, I undersalt everything. Unfortunately, I've gotten better over the years, but I'm not, you know, I'm not as good as I would like to be at times. Why don't you pass this around, Chef? This is the sauce. Once it finishes, I'm going to back off on this because they didn't leave me enough wine to actually do it. So I'll let you guys look at the sauce. And, you know, you still have your tasting spoons. Go ahead and taste it and everything. So run the pasta through a pasta machine. You want to take it down to about a 2. You also want to infuse the raspberries into this particular sauce as well. So raspberries, go ahead and macerate the raspberries. You can either put you know, a burr mixer into it and mix it that way. I actually like to use a Vitamix to mix mine. It just seems to break everything up, get more, you know, more flavor and more juice to it and everything. This is kind of a weird dish in the sense that I'm using a Merlot sauce for my pasta. Most people think until they taste it with it, they go like, that should go on like a piece of meat. Why are you putting it with pasta? But to me, all the mushrooms that I'm sticking in that sauce is actually really... Can I bring it over here, Chef?
That's okay.
Does that work?
Perfect.
All that meat is basically, I mean, all the mushrooms, it's meat, you know, in my feeling. It's kind of a, you know, a meat sauce that, you know, it's just meat to me. So anyway, tighten it for me, didn't they? What? They didn't tighten it for me. So when I do my raviolis, I usually typically use large raviolis. I hate raviolis that are bought store-bought. I hate mush. I hate this stuff. Yes?
Why is that, Chef? Why do you use large raviolis?
Because I want you to get that whole texture of like I said, this is just chunks of you know, of mushrooms in it. It's not a paste. I'm not scooping it out. I'm not, you know, scooping just a pasting. I hate whenever I put the ravioli in my mouth and all I get is mush. You know, hey, it might have some flavor to it, but it's just mush. You know, there's nothing to it. I like to have the feeling of the, you know, the different things in it. You know, oh gosh, there's that mushroom that, you know, I mean, you can actually almost, if you try, distinct the different tastes of the different mushrooms while you're eating it, because it's actually different pieces, you know, in there. And then the brunoise, you know, cheese will hold those little pieces together in different spots, because when you put it in the ravioli, it's going to be a different, you know, a different size and everything. And kind of like what Chef was saying with recipes, I have probably 500 cookbooks or more sitting on my shelves. My wife will not buy me cookbooks anymore, because my wife is as I said, a pastry chef. So what my wife does is, if it says a quarter cup, she puts a quarter cup. It says a teaspoon, she puts a teaspoon. I don't cook like that. I go, you know, and she says, Mary, how did you make that sauce? You put this, and this in. Okay, how much till it's right? What do you mean till it's right? Till it's right. But I mean, I don't get it, you know, so it makes her crazy. So she won't buy cookbooks, because she'll buy me one, she'll spend $75, $100 on this cookbook, and she's all excited, and she comes home, and she says, look at a bunch of it, and I go, oh, cool, okay. And I put it on the shelf, and she goes, what? I go, oh yeah, that was a cool recipe, but now I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that to it, and I'm going to twist this, and I'm going to change that. And she's like, okay, well, why didn't you buy it? You know? Oh, because you gave me an idea. My gosh, I never thought of that. Oh, that's so cool. And I'll tell you something, even as someone, I've been doing this as long as I have, I still learn. I lost my egg, Chef. I still learn from people like you guys. I just did a consulting for a restaurant, and this line cook, one of the fastest line cooks I've ever seen in my life, he goes and to make a roux in the sauce. He puts the sauce in the pan, and I turn around and I go, that needs to be reduced down more. He grabs a cube of butter, cuts the cube, you know, like this, rolls it in flour, and throws it in the pan. And I will tell you something, I looked at him like, what are you doing? And then in like 30 seconds I went, oh my God, it worked. I mean, it just built, you know, and there was no lumps, no nothing. It just built this roux right inside the pan, thickened the sauce up, and it just went, wow. And the sauce got glossier, got prettier because of the butter. And I was just amazed, you know, that he was able to do that. So I mean, after 40 years of doing this, I went, oh, look at that. So I mean, you know, you're never too old, and you never know, you know, so much that you can't learn something from somebody else. Now the filling is on the recipe. You can change the filling with the mushrooms. You know, you can add different mushrooms, you can add spinach, you can add pretty much anything you want. And I use my raviolis as a food cost situation. So what happens is, you know, I got leftover duck, I got leftover pork, I got leftover whatever, you know, from the parties and everything. That becomes raviolis. You know, I got leftover veggies. That becomes raviolis.
What are some things that you wouldn't want to put in your ravioli?
Something sweet. Except I do a dessert ravioli. As I said, I'm not a baker, I'm not a pastry person, but I will make white fondant, white chocolate fondant, and then I will stuff it with a dark chocolate ganache. And then I make a mint sauce and a raspberry sauce to simulate marinara sauce and pesto sauce. And I'll put it on the buffet tables. And usually I'll set it on a piece of granite. I'll take a bowl or a pot and tip the pot over, dump the raviolis all over like 3 layers of granite, and then I dump marinara sauce on one side and pesto sauce on the other side. And what's really initially funny is to watch people come in and look at the thing and go, oh gosh, they knocked over the thing. Oh, that must have looked so pretty, you know, and then nobody will touch it. It just sits there, got this huge cascading raviolis coming down the thing, and nobody touches it. And then all of a sudden, somebody will go, oh my gosh, it's dessert, you know, and then they're gone. You know, just a second. But it's just amazing. It will sit there for 45 minutes and no one will touch it at all. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, someone tastes one ravioli and they'll go like, oh wow, this is so cool. Anyway, so the raviolis, when I do a dish like this as an appetizer, you get 1 ravioli. When I do a dish for an entree, you get 3 raviolis. You know, I mean, that's the size of 2 raviolis in most restaurants. But I made it, you know, and I can write on my menu, it's handmade pasta. And let me tell you, you can charge 27, 28 bucks for handmade pasta.
Wow.
You know what my cost is on that? Like,
75 cents.
not even that. I mean, it's like
Scrap.
30 cents, you know? So for 3 of those on the plate, my food cost is under 3 bucks, counting sauce and everything, and I just sold it for $28. And people are going, did you taste the raviolis? You know? So I mean, it's amazing. That's one of your food cost things, you know? There's a lot of dishes in the restaurant that you can build to take care of the crab and the lobster and the fillet, and all the other stuff that are simple and easy. And like I said, this one here is great because you literally can use anything in the restaurant to make your ravioli, and leftover anything. I'm going to build a couple of them here.
Question, Jeff.
Yes.
So how'd you get into consulting?
How they get into consulting?
Right.
Okay. I started this business, like I said, when I was 14, and I was the maitre d' of restaurants. I've been a restaurant manager. I've been a GM. I'm unfortunately, like I was telling Chef Carl over there when we drove down, I'm a restaurant employee's nightmare whenever I come in, because you can't lie to me on any side of the restaurant, whether it's the bar, the kitchen, or the front of the house. You can't lie to me and tell me that you know this or you know that, it's not, this isn't going to work or that's not going to work, because I know better. So unfortunately, your food cost is 32%. Excuse me, way too high, guys. Let me fix this for you. So I got into consulting. I own a catering service, like I told you in the beginning. My wife and nephew went through the Culinary Academy up in San Francisco, finished the academy, and pestered me for 6 months to take the catering service over, because they knew more than I did. And my old and tired ideas were why the business had slowed down. And if I would just give them the thing, they could turn my catering service into a whole new place. Well, they did. They took my $600,000 a year plus business and turned it into a $250,000 a year business. Chef, can I have that oval plate, please?
That doesn't sound positive, Chef.
Yeah, it wasn't a good thing. I do need that sauce back at some point, folks. Okay, now here I've got a little bit of kale that I have sauteed, or I've chiffonade. What I'm going to do is put a little oil, a little vinegar in it to just kind of make a small little quick salad. A little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, and this is going to become height on my plate. It's going to give us some height. If you can go on to Larry Chef Keck on Facebook, dig through my pictures and everything, you'll notice that I build towers. I'm a tower builder. I just like things with height and something a little tall.
That's that architect.
It's my architect thing going on in there. But so we'll get a little height going on with this. I also like I said, abstract. So I definitely paint and draw on my plates.
Yeah, have fun.
Well, that's the thing. Like I said, this isn't a job. I get paid to play. This is playtime. Only a few, it usually takes just a couple of minutes for the raviolis to cook.
Yeah, it's good, by the way. Nice and meaty. Sauce delicious.
And you can play with the shapes. You can play with different shapes on raviolis. I do raviolis that are triangles. I do, all different sizes, shapes. You can also take the ravioli, carrot juice, break it down and mix it into your pasta when you're making your pasta. Spinach juice, basil juice, any kind of juice you know, you can put it in and to color your pasta to give you a different flavor and a different color on your pasta. The cool thing with the porcini mushroom dust is, when you put it on something that has a little bit of dampness to it, it disintegrates. And I've actually put it on asparagus, I put it on vegetables and such, and then had people taste it and they'll go, wow, what's that? It doesn't, it's not just asparagus. Why does it taste like that? You know, well, it's because it's got dust, you know, this mushroom dust on it, and they don't expect it.
You specify porcini, but does that work with any?
Just because it's got a really earthy, distinct flavor to it. You want this over there, Chef? Wait, hold on. Sorry.